And the first item on the agenda is roll call. Christie is absent this evening. John?
Here.
Chris?
Here.
Sharon? Here. Sonia?
Here.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda of this evening's meeting. Do I hear a motion for
I'll
approval?
move to approve.
I second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Skip the communications piece. I think everybody who's here has heard this multiple times, so we will move on to public comment on items not on the agenda.
No, I'm good.
Please.
All right, seeing no one, I will close the public comment portion of the meeting and we'll move on to our school director report.
Thinking there's not a lot to report, other than the fact that we've just, some fun stuff has been happening at school, notably Halloween. Felt like it's the month of Halloween. Stacey, one of our 4th grade moms, decorated the whole school for Halloween a month before Halloween started. That just kind of set things off.
It looked very nice.
Well, yeah, it was a great month and very enjoyable around here. The 4th and 5th grade classes have been on 2 field trips. I'll let Chris talk about those. And the 2nd, 3rd grade class is gearing up to go on a field trip to the Academy of Sciences. And getting kind of the red carpet treatment because one of our parents is the head of facilities for
Very nice.
so I'm going on that field trip.
Behind the scenes tour.
I've never been to the Academy of Sciences.
What a treat.
And Sarah spent today at our SELPA meeting, the Special Education Local Plan Area meeting in Oakland. This is good for her to get out and meet with other people in her shoes to hear about what's going on in the world of special education. We've worked our way through round 1 of Prop 39 for the 18-19 school year. And I really want to applaud our families who, this year was different in that it had to come from our families. And they had to reach out to their friends and family. And it was a much harder ask this year. We had to get more forms. And the kind of tenor in the community made it more difficult to get those forms. So I think our families are more aware of who we are and are better able to speak about us in the community, and that was really helpful. And that's the gist of it. We're on December 3rd. We're gonna have our gratitude feast. That's a Monday. And then on the 10th, we're going to have an all-school music concert. Also Monday, because that's when we have the multi-purpose room. And then we're gearing up for all the holiday stuff. The K1s have Scrooge in their play, and then we have our next inquiry arc finishing up at the end of December. So exciting things coming.
Thank you. Okay, we have our enrollment numbers, which we've published, so people can look at those if they want to. The next item is board and staff information and updates. Did you want to talk about your field trips at all, or?
Yeah, we're 4th and 5th are doing immigration as our focus right now, and we went to Sacramento on the train very early in the morning. And I think actually the highlight was probably going on the Capitol tour, because I don't know if I talked about this the last time, I can't remember, but
No.
they really got a sense of how laws are made, and then we lucked out that Jared Huffman came to visit the very next day. And he spent 10 minutes in my class, and the kids got to ask all these questions, and they really actually had good questions and really kind of understood it a lot better because we had just been there. And of course, he's a U.S. Representative, but he had been in the California Assembly, so that was really exciting. But then we also did an immigrant train ride where they learned all about people who had come to California by train, and then saw the train museum and everything. And then this week, Wednesday, We went to China camp and learned about, you know, the Chinese who came here and settled here. And we've been doing rotations through our 3 classes where they've learned about the Chinese immigrants, gold rush, pioneers, Spanish, and, you know, different people. So we're at this point now where we're ending the exploration phase, and we have no idea what's coming next, because this will be the part that comes from the kids. So it's this very weird thing as a teacher too. We don't know we can't plan anything at this point. We just have to kind of wait. We're gonna do a process with the kids over the next few days of like, where do you wanna go from here? What are you interested in learning more about? And so it's just this sort of like, oh, we know we have another like 6 weeks or something, we really don't know where we're going with it.
Yeah.
So that's different,
Mm-hmm.
but it's exciting,
Yeah,
and the kids are definitely interested in it.
great.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah?
Georgia came home and was just spewing facts
Uh-huh.
after both trips.
Oh,
Very
yeah.
excited about both of them, so.
Cool.
There was a great American experience.
Uh-huh.
It's a public television
Yeah.
on Chinese immigration.
Oh, yeah,
I would strongly recommend you look that up,
yeah,
and it's like a 90-minute thing, but, I mean, I was just stunned
huh,
by the things I didn't know.
uh-huh,
And the
interesting,
Chinese Exclusion Act.
yeah,
Often looked over.
Just,
The Chinese Exclusion Act, as being a former history teacher, the Chinese Exclusion Act
It's
is
not spoken
not
about
really
then.
spoken of.
no,
Yeah.
and it's just the whole, it was, I think it's 2 hours, but I mean, I showed it to my son who was teaching a class in immigration in Bangkok, and he showed the whole thing to me. It might be some, you might
Yeah.
wanna pick pieces of it and show it to
Right.
kids. Really well done.
huh. Well, the interesting thing was, you know, cause it was my class of the rotation was the Chinese part of it. And when we went to China camp, all the stuff that they were telling them, I was like, yep, taught that, they know that, they know that. So they were very well prepared for it, which is cool. And the other thing is that the teachers are working really hard right now, finishing up assessing, so we have the most current information on our students, so we can do report cards, and next week we have conferences all week. And it's a lot with fitting in all our conferences in 4 days. I'm starting tomorrow because I know I can't do it in 4 days. But, so we're very busy right now.
And another thing to note is, we're changing our report cards.
We have changed our
We
report
have
cards.
changed the report cards, and we did it over a period of 2 weeks.
Yeah, well,
Jane, who, was our newest teacher, said, oh, I was on the report card committee at the district for 5 years.
yeah,
And we made changes in 2 weeks.
yeah.
I know they're not drastic changes, but it's just really looking at, aligning with inquiry-based learning. The district report card that we brought over had 2 different rating scales and making a simple rating scale, so.
And really just looking at it from the perspective of parents, like how are they, this information is for them, how are they best gonna understand what really, how their kid is doing? And so we, you know, had quite a big debate among the teachers and finally decided to do like a number scale rather than doing X's and slashes and things that they don't always understand. So, you know, just hoping that people don't go, oh, a 4 is an A and a 3 is a B, and but really explaining what those numbers mean. And it's not, you know, in correlation to letter grades. It's not that, it's, you know, have they
Proficiency.
mastered a skill? Have they mastered this standard?
Where are they on that
Exactly.
spectrum of where they?
Well, could you send them half to us, we can see them?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and, the mastery is, on the 4-point scale, mastery is a 3. 4 is exceeding.
Right, so it gives us a chance to really show when kids are really excelling in something. And that, you know, 3 is the goal, and every now and then there'll be a 4, and I was explaining it to my students, it's like, you know, don't expect to get all 4s, that's not really the point, you know, like, we want you to get 3s, and then every now and then there's somebody's really strong at, and that'll be a 4. So,
This will make it easier for us to quantify these for the board reporting as well.
mhm.
That's all part of my hidden agenda.
Great, well, thank you. Does anyone else have anything?
I would just mention that, we have a final court date, which was next Wednesday, but now it's the 28th.
Oh, really?
The court moved
The
the
court
date.
moved the date, but our brief is being filed, our response brief to the district's brief, so we'll see what happens.
And this has to do with the space we were allocated in
Yeah.
Valley.
Yeah, we're asking the
Yeah.
court,
Make a ruling on,
make them have it here.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to our general agenda items, and the first item is to approve our local indicators for the fall 2018 CDE dashboard.
So we did this last year, and I sent this all to you earlier today. I don't know if you got a chance to look at it, but really it's the part of to a degree, part of the LCAP and accountability standards.
You want to present it?
Everybody has it here.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Oh, they don't? I'll present it.
No.
I thought I would. We'll get Ted. Now we're gonna have to go in the dark.
But you can't erase Emily's instructions for the moment.
Oh,
No.
That's all
we'll
right.
just look at it through the,
Through the lens of.
through the
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
city assignment.
It's like class, some of the classes are creating names for themselves.
Oh, the shark.
They're learning about.
The classroom next door named themselves the Democratic Dolphins.
Little lowercase d.
With a lowercase d. The custodian rolling that sign. All right, so we have some things to look through. I feel like we're in a submarine. So, I'll just go over this quickly because we did this last year, but the dashboard's the state's new way of showing data on how schools are doing on their key indicators that they're measuring. And so next month, the state is going to roll out some of the indicators. Some of them are these local indicators, which are judged by us. The state is telling us what to judge. We're saying how we're judging it and what our results are. The rest of it is, there's some other data that comes out that the state just starts rolling out, like test scores and things that become part of this next month. This is generally done by districts, but being a charter school, we're in that weird gray area. And from my understanding, not all charter schools do this, but the state likes for us to do it. And I think it's also just a good measure for us to see how we're doing.
It also gets posted online, so
Yeah.
if you don't do it, I imagine there's some.
If we don't do this, then we don't meet the
Yeah,
standards.
It looks bad.
Yeah. So, there were 4 measures last year, priorities 1, 2, 3, 6, and 7, that are called local indicators. 7 is new to this year. The first one is priority 1, which is about teachers and curriculum. So it's whether or not we have appropriately assigned teachers, so do they have the right credentials for the classes they're in, access to curriculum, aligned instructional materials, and safe, clean, and functional school facility. Yeah, could be like 4 separate ones, but they lumped it all into one. So here's the standard that they measure at, and it's related to Williams Act, but it's kind of funky how they fit everything into there. But really, you're supposed to put in data for these 4 subjects. So the number or percentage of misassignments of teachers, of English learners, and all of our teachers are qualified to serve English learners, or teachers who are, where we have vacancies, so that's a 0. Number of students without access to copies of standards aligned instructional materials for use at school or at home, that's another 0. And number of identified instances where facilities do not meet the good repair standard, including deficiencies and extreme deficiencies, 0. And there's it's called a FIT report, where I just go around and look at the facilities and we're in a well-maintained facility. District does a great job here. So that criteria was met. There's also the self-reflection tool for the implementation of state standards. I went in, there's a rating scale for how we're implementing state standards across the board. And I went through the scale and then shared it with the teachers, and the teachers gave feedback on possible changes. So we met that criteria. And that's basically, you meet the criteria by going through the survey. And priority 3 is self-reflection tool for parent engagement. And you have a couple ways of fulfilling this. One is through doing a narrative, which we did last year. And the other option is through a survey, which we're doing this year. So we had the parent survey that went out at the end of the school year last year. And so use the data for that to report on this. And basically, in what's submitted to the state itself is just some of the questions that parents answered and the ratings that the parents gave. And our parents rated us highly well last year, and I shared that survey with the board at the end of the year last year.
And does that go up on the dashboard so people can go to the website and see it?
Yeah. So, criteria met. There's nothing special about the last one. So I can talk about this one while it's waiting, while it's loading.
School climate?
School climate, so this one's done through a survey, and it's, last year when we gave a survey to parents, we also gave the survey to kids, and then for the kids is mainly around school climate. And we gave that same survey to our kids this week. So we have data to see our growth in that, and it was interesting to see, and I'll share it with the teachers, because I went through all the results today, that we had growth in almost all the indicators from spring last year to this year, where our kids feel that, it's a safer climate. Not that there's an unsafe climate this year, but it ticked up in many areas, which is nice to see from the kids. The other thing that's interesting from the survey is the kids don't know all the language in the survey. And I think part of what we need to do going forward is teach the language of the survey. Like, I'm trying to think of one of the words. One of the questions was, if I walk into the classroom upset, my teacher is concerned for me. And I was going around with one of the classes as they're taking a survey today, and the kids were interpreting concern in 2 different ways. One as a negative connotation, one as a positive connotation. So that skews the results. So we administered the survey, so the criteria is met. And the last one is priority 7, which is access to a broad course of study. And so we're required to provide kids with what's considered a broad course of study, which is, if you can see here, they need to be taught English, mathematics, social science, visual and performing arts, health, which happens in 5th grade, and PE. And we do that, so criteria met. And basically the tool we used was our class schedules and our enrichment schedule. So it's kind of an interesting process for how the state does it. It's basically the local indicators, and for the most part, it's if you do this, then you meet the standard. Any questions?
Great, thank you.
And part of the process is I have to present this to the board, and then I can finalize the report online once you say.
Last step met, yes. Okay, are there any questions about this at the board level? Is there any public comment on this item? Yes, Julie?
So you might consider posting the parent survey and the student surveys online on your website, so people can access them, maybe emailing,
See how
sending
things-
out emails so people can access the surveys to see how happy
Mhm.
their community is.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Any other public comments on this item? Thank you. Okay, we'll bring it back up to the board for formal adoption of the dashboard. Do I have a motion for approval?
I second.
Okay, Sonia and John, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And the next item on our agenda is our Proposition 39 process. We've submitted our request to the district. And so now we're just waiting out our timeline. Do you, anybody else have anything they want to add to that?
Yeah, I do. Last year, we had an email campaign to verify. Do we feel like we need to do that again this year? Okay.
No, we didn't really talk about whether we would want to do that again. I
Well,
think
we
the
did, somebody,
district.
I
yeah.
talked about it with somebody,
Yeah,
Okay.
but we
I think
didn't,
it
we
was
thought the
felt that
district had kind of rejected it last year, so.
it's a lot of work
Mhm.
and.
Yep.
And it's not clear what the benefit is and,
Mhm.
Yep. Okay.
it just felt, I think, it was.
There's a lot to
Yeah.
ask.
Sharon, Christie and I and
Sure.
Luke
Yeah.
and Merrill talked about it.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, last year we did the 12th hour, and so it was
I know.
crazy.
I know.
So nobody, as far as we know, has gotten anything from the district at this point, but asking for verification?
No, and last year they started doing it halfway into the month,
Yeah.
So
right
maybe
before
we can-
Thanksgiving.
Right.
And
where
2
people
years
were
ago,
gone
they did it
and-
on the 17th.
Mhm.
We'll know at that point, right? A couple weeks if they try to do the same
You know, who
thing.
knows what we'll know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Their next thing is they have to
Respond.
give a response about their opinion of our projection.
Mhm.
And that's due December 1st, right?
And then we respond in January with whether or not we
They're
are
not-
okay with
they're-
them
Because they're not
changing our
legally
projection.
allowed to oppose our, right? They just have to give an opinion, right? What
Yeah, well,
we
they
said-
could say, we only believe, like they had the last two,
Yep,
last year, they said, oh no, we think you're 30 less.
yeah,
And we wrote a response back, and they raised it back up to our.
Okay.
projection.
all right,
So I think there's no telling
wait and see.
what they're gonna do.
Okay,
But it's, the significant change we made in this year is we basically told them they can't use Wade Thomas. Because the law says you're supposed to use 3, and the 3 schools that our kids would otherwise attend.
mhm,
And
okay,
you look at our current distribution and the distribution of the forms,
mhm,
Wade Thomas is half of what people have.
okay,
Yeah, so it's just about, you're supposed to use 3 schools for comparable space and used 4. And the 4th one being Wade Thomas, and that's just detrimental to us because Wade Thomas is packed.
Well, and we also don't get many students from that school, so it doesn't make
So
sense to
it
use
could
it.
make a material difference.
It will make a material difference. I don't know how material, but it'll
Okay.
make a difference.
I had a question, so that, in the Prop 39, the only number they really can hold us to is the total number of in-district students. How we have them spread by grade level is just for informational purposes, and that, right?
Well,
Or-
we project them, we project them in grades.
Right, no, I know,
And
but
then
so.
they have to be, and then they have to take their comparable grade level averages
Mhm.
to use to allocate the classrooms.
Okay, all right, right, but let's say next year.
But we don't have to have classes the way they're
That- okay,
outlined
that
in-
was my
in
question,
the
right. So
property,
that, we don't have, if our numbers, as long as the total number is good, the breakout doesn't matter next year, right?
Well, we're projecting 7 classrooms
Right.
Mhm.
of in-district students, and
Yeah.
we laid out a projection. We did that the year before, and now we're doing what we're doing, so things change between November 1st and August 22nd of the following year. So how we configure our classes does not need in any way to relate to what we put in the property.
Right, okay, I just wanted to make sure, okay, wait, but you said it's 7 classrooms?
So they gave us 7 classrooms.
And then a room
this
for
year.
art and music,
Right.
Okay.
is how they're allocating.
Yeah, okay, okay.
But we're
Okay.
using all 8
All
of
eight,
those.
right, okay.
The other interesting thing to note is, 2 times now that I've seen the district has said that they would be willing to have us give them space back this year. As part of this process for them giving us Hidden Valley.
Right.
That, they have fewer in-district kids that they projected this year, so we can give them space back to help help our situation, which is not really logical, and they also say that would help us escape an allocation penalty, which we had to pay last year, but we're within the margin that is allowed by the state, so there is no allocation penalty for us to pay.
As long as our in-district enrollment doesn't drop
Yeah.
from where it is today.
Yeah. And last year, between October and March, we grew by 22 students still. We may not have that much growth this year, but we still could have growth between now and the time
Yeah,
that
we're
the actual.
projecting, I think, 18 or 19, I can't remember the final
Yeah.
number.
Additional students.
Additional in-district students.
Mhm.
We aren't getting as many so far this year as we have, as we did last year.
People
There's still
tend
some
to
that are
be-
interested.
Yeah, there's some
but-
interested, some
They haven't-
shadow days scheduled.
Yeah.
And sometimes people
The
find
big
easier
increase
times to
last
make
year
the,
came
in
after
January,
January.
right.
After
People-
January?
The second
Oh, well,
semester
that's because we had that
Yeah.
new class there.
Okay, any other questions about the Prop 39 process at the board level? Any public comment on this item? No, okay. So, let's see, so we do have a resolution on here, I guess, that we are approving the Proposition 39 request included in our materials. And then also that we will, this motion also proposes that the board delegates to me and to Luke the authority to continue to work with the district on this, to facilitate the process to completion, and that, you know, the only if we were gonna take any legal action, which we hope we don't have to, that we would bring it back to the board, otherwise we'd just keep on developing it through the normal process. So, any questions on that or a motion?
I move to approve the Prop 39 request and to delegate
The resolution.
the resolution,
Mm-hmm.
thank you. And the delegate as stated here.
Okay.
Second?
All those in favor, or Sonia, Sonia, I guess, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is that Chris Lanz has submitted her resignation to us. And so this agenda item is to, first of all, thank her for all of her service long before being an open school and working on, in this capacity on the board and helping to do so many things that I probably couldn't even enumerate them all. But to appreciate you for all that, and then to know that that doesn't mean your work is stopping, it's just changing a little bit.
Mhm.
And we're allowing you to take the time to really focus on your classroom a little bit more. And we appreciate that, and we know that you're still gonna be a very vital member of this team, and it just in a slightly different way. So, thank you so much. And so according to our bylaws, one of our members on the board should be a teacher representative and appointed by the board after considering nominations from our teachers in the school. And so, since you're currently a board member and serving in that capacity and have decided to resign, we have to find a successor who will serve in that same capacity as the teacher representative to the board, and who would be that replacement for that voting position. So the teachers met after you said that you had intended to resign and nominated Cheryl Flick to serve in that new capacity. And so the purpose of this agenda item is to accept your resignation and appoint a replacement. So are there any questions or comments at the board level?
Well, one, as long as the bylaws after this are amended, Chris isn't going anywhere, it's important to know. But Chris continues to be a vital person in the school and serve a vital role in speaking to the teacher voice and also encouraging the other teachers to be continually involved in their own ways. And I thoroughly appreciate that, just as an administrator, to have you in my ear when things are going on, even if it's an email 2 o'clock in the morning, I appreciate it. And I know this has been something that you enjoy being up here and being able to vote and have a real powerful role up here. I think the school's been all the better for it. And then on the other side, I appreciate that Cheryl Flick is willing to step into this role. She's a mom of a 3rd grader in Miss Jane's class. Has a real critical eye, and I think that would be real beneficial to all of us up here, and particularly the kids at our school. And also have some new blood up here to kind of help us with our decisions going forward. As John Kirk is a parent representative this year, but he's not going to be a parent representative on the board next year as his daughter graduates. So I guess to continue to have a parent on the board is really important.
Cheryl will also have a really important role in making sure that she is keeping in communication with the teachers and making sure that her vote is representing the teachers in that capacity, so,
That's ambiguous.
yes.
She's a teacher.
She is the teacher nominated
Well,
rep,
she is,
yes.
she is the person we have put forward, and
Yes.
she's an independent person on the board, and
Yes.
we will be in communication.
Yes.
But I think that the concept of creating this new officer position
Mhm.
is to have an actual teacher
Here to,
responsible
Right.
for communicating to us and to communicating back to the teachers.
Yeah.
Because it's hard for Cheryl to be in contact with
Alright.
all the teachers
Yeah,
who
and-
works and they don't get together mostly. So I
yeah.
think that responsibility will fall on this new officer position.
Whoever that
Yeah.
may be.
Yeah. Okay, any more questions or comments about this at the board level? Any public comment on this item? Okay, I'll bring it back up then for a motion for approval.
I move that we approve the motion to accept Chris's resignation and the nomination for Cheryl to replace.
Okay. Is there some? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you so much.
So will that take effect at the next board meeting? Is that how this works?
Yeah, I think.
What?
That takes
No,
effect.